47 Meters Down. This is, of course, the summer shark flick of the year. Typically one a year, or one every couple of years. Normally they've been taken over by piranha fish movies, but we're back to sharks, and this was a pretty decent film. I was excited to see it, mostly because of one of the actresses in it is Claire Holt. So you guys might know her from the originals or the Vampire Diaries. I got kind of nerdy about it, and I was like, that's really it. After that, which I thought that was interesting in general, but then it was like, I like sharks, I like shark movies, and I love movies that are able to keep characters in one space and make it work. Like, I love movies that do that, and we don't see them too often. I don't recall there ever being a movie like that with sharks. I'm sure there is one, because sharks are like number 2, like after zombies. There's a billion effing shark movies, so there's probably one just like it. But I wanted to see this one, and I actually thought it was pretty decent. It's not like a crazy over-the-top tour de force type of film, but it's definitely good. It's like an hour and 27 minutes. It's actually, considering the movies we go see now, like comic book movies are always like, we gotta be like 2 hours long, or 2.5 hours long for action and drama, and then comedy and more action. This is like, no, it's just, it's one location. They're underwater for like most of the movie, so we're gonna make like an hour and a half long film. And I think they utilize the time pretty well. Of course, it starts off, and like pretty much every movie where we know it's gonna get to the disaster, it's almost like disaster movies. I'm like, I don't care about any of this stuff, but we, of course, because it's a story, we do have to know the characters, so we get to learn about the characters. They're actually sisters in the film. It's a very minor relevance to the story, so it's not a big spoiler. But they're on this trip, they're just hanging out and stuff. They meet these guys, and it's like, hey, let's go see some sharks, and be in the cage. And that's pretty much it, and that's where it goes. And then, of course, disaster strikes. They're in the cage, it falls, there's 47 meters down, and that's pretty much the rest of the film. That actually is the rest of the film. But it was good. Of course, they do sort of the normal stuff where it's like, alright, it starts off as like, holy crap, what are we going to do? We're trapped underwater. There are lots of movies where people are trapped in the water. Sometimes they're in a cage, sometimes they're free, they're just out in the ocean. Sometimes they're stuck on islands. People are just stuck in the water. There's nothing around them but water. And this time they're trapped so deep down that it's fairly dark. They're 47 meters down. They do a great job showing the panic of them. Like when things first start to go awry, they do a great job showing the panic. It's like, yep, like a lot of, like pretty much everything they do in this, I was like, that seems realistic to me. Like even when the characters are freaking out, I was like, they're of course underwater, so it's like, well, they have scuba gear on, but you will freak out. You drop. You're supposed to be hanging a couple of meters under the water, like the boat's like right there, and this wire snaps and you fall. Like it's so dark you can't even actually see the sunlight anymore. You'll freak out. You'll wake up, if you get knocked unconscious, you wake up and you freak out. You'll be freaking out the whole way down. You'll just be like, just taking all your air up the whole way down. And they utilize that a lot. It makes sense. It's like, yeah, something happens, the first fall, they're, like freaking out and stuff. It's like, we have to calm down. Sharks are, surrounding them, and it's like a shark is near them or jumps at them or something. It'll freak you out. It was really well done. So I really appreciated that. And of course, it's that constant struggle. Some things you can probably expect as things kind of go through. There's certain solutions that are supposed to come up. You can imagine how that may or may not go. And I think they did a great job with the pacing, because of course they're stuck underwater, so it's like, how do you kind of pace this out? It's in the trailer, so this is not a spoiler, but they aren't in the cage the entire time they're underwater. So, they kind of play around with that fairly well, and it's pretty tense from the very beginning, because it's like, alright, well, they're underwater. The whole point is that they're stuck down there with sharks. That's like the whole premise, is that that's where they are. They can't really see anything. It's so dark they can hardly, they can't see like even 10 feet in front of them. It's just dark. So I really love the way it was kind of played. It's fairly suspenseful because, it's not like a horror movie where it's like the person could be around the corner. It's like, it's dark. They could be right here, and the characters wouldn't really know it. So it's kind of like that throughout the entire film, where it's like they have to do certain things, and it's like you don't know where the sharks are going to be at. Like you don't know when they'll show up, because they can literally show up any time in the film and it works. Like they're literally like, there's 100% you could get a jump scare at any point, and that kind of builds it up the whole way through, and it makes the jump scares worth it. It's not like they're cheap jump scares, because it's like, I don't really know when it's going to happen. Some points you could probably guess, just because it's like, it's always like some random thing and you can always just assume something's about to happen. But I feel like they don't really do that too much. Maybe one time that actually happens, and other than that, it's like you don't really know when it's about to take place. Like it's just like things happen and you don't know if it'll be here or there, because it's dark the whole way through. Like there's stuck. And it's not, of course, pitch black. You can actually see it's, movie dark where they can't see, but of course we can see everything around them, so it's kind of like that. But it was really well done. I like the way they did the pacing for it, and the characters, freaking out and coming up with more plans and freaking out later, and more plans, and back and forth of that. And it was really well done leading up to the ending, which I thought was actually really cool. When it gets to like the actual ending, where it's like, are they gonna live or are they gonna die? It gets insanely crazy. Like, one of the scenes is actually in the trailers, the part where they have a flare and the sharks are like surrounding them. That's a really crazy sequence. And so we go through like this whole ending, and it's super freaking nuts. And I thought it was pretty well done. And ultimately, I liked the way the movie ended. It was pretty interesting. There, oddly enough, with them being underwater, there are some things to talk about that I can't go into with without spoiling certain elements, but there's a pretty interesting thing that takes place during the end within all that crazy action and stuff, where it's like, holy crap, that happened. I knew what was going to happen, not the exact way that it was going to play out, but I knew something was going to happen as it was going through, because I saw something like a few days ago. It wasn't like a big spoiler, but I was like, I know something is going to happen here, so I was kind of waiting to see what was going to take place. But I was like, okay, that's interesting. But I ultimately liked the movie. It was pretty simple. It's like, it's not even a B movie. Like, going into it, I kind of thought, because I saw some reviews, and it's like, currently on Metacritic, I think it's at like 56%. Of course, it like just came out, so it's at like 56 for critics. I think it was 50% for the audience. But I would personally say I enjoyed it. It was, a simple film. Like I said, it wasn't like you expect a whole lot anyways. Two people trapped in a cage, in the water. So it's like, it's a shark movie. That's pretty much it. But I think they did a good job with it. I thought it was pretty well done as far as the suspense, and cinematography was good. They actually have a pretty cool opening as well. But they have some great shots that I just really appreciated, just as someone who uses my camera a lot. They had some cool shots in here. I was like, that's a really cool way to do that. They utilize the darkness of the depth of the water. So I really like that there's a very specific scene where I was like, I really love that they're doing this, because it's like, I don't know what's going to really happen here, but I have a guess, but it's like, I don't really know, because there's like two characters. You can't just be killing, like, you can't be killing everybody because there's only two people to kill. So it's like, I don't know what will happen, if you get injured, if you get killed, who will live, who will die. So it was pretty interesting going through, kind of wondering, like, how is this going to play out? Like, is it going to be like a completely happy ending? Is it going to be like a completely, destructive ending where it's just super depressing? Is like a half and half thing? You can't really tell as it goes through, because it's like, I don't know when someone's going to be hurt or when someone's just going to flat out get murdered. So it's interesting going through the film, kind of trying to figure out, like, when is this going to happen? So I definitely enjoyed it for that. My girlfriend and I both went to see it. She gets freaked out by like most things really, really easily, so I don't know if I can really use her as like an example of whether or not it's truly suspenseful. But if you get scared by like anything and everything, it'll definitely freak you out, because she was freaked out. Like, as soon as they hit the water, she was like squeezing the crap out of my hand, because she assumed they were gonna die. Like, they just got in the water, and there was the scene where it's like, she could get killed, but I'm like, we literally have been in the water for like maybe 10 minutes at this point. I'm like, they are not gonna kill these people right now. So I wasn't even worried, but she was completely freaking out. So if you're kind of like that, where you just assume every single scene where something could go wrong, something will, it'll certainly freak you out. For me in general, because I like love horror and I play like horror games, so I'm like, my skill is very different. I still think they did a great job with it. Like I said, there's some parts where you can kind of guess what's about to happen, if there's going to be a jump scare, but there are a lot of portions where it's like, I don't know, like sometimes there is one where you might assume there would be, and sometimes it's not, and it's just good because they have, like I said, throughout the whole movie, it builds up little by little, because like any of these moments it could happen, and then there are certain moments where it'll be a different angle where it's like, oh, they have to do this because of this angle. It's like, that's not necessarily true. Sometimes it happens, but maybe the first time it doesn't, maybe the first time it does, and the second time it doesn't. So you never really know going through, and that's probably my favorite thing about it, where it's like the whole movie is just like, they could be in danger at any second. And like I said, when they first hit the water, I wasn't worried in any way, shape, or form, but then it's like, all right, you have your first plan. That's when things, because it's a movie, you have that typical structure. It's like, all right, we have our first plan to freedom, and now we get to, some of the suspenseful stuff. So I think once it gets to that point, just, typical movie structure, that's when I would start to look at every single scene like, well, is it going to happen here? Because I can't see beyond, like, 10 feet in front of them, so I don't know. They might get attacked here. They might get attacked doing this, segment. This could be too loud because they're underwater and the sound, and then sharks, and they could get injured doing this, and of course, blood and sharks. So there are a lot of different ways that they kind of play around with the depths and the darkness in this film, and I think they do a great job with it. So personally, I would definitely say, if you're into shark movies, if you like Sharknado, you'll love this because it's actually entertaining. I've never watched the Sharknado movies, but the sharks look like sharks, and it's actually suspenseful. It's not super campy or anything like that. It's not really like a B movie. It really is like a suspenseful sort of thriller movie, and it's sharks like normal. It's not like Jaws where it's like the attack shark sort of thing. It's like they're in this location and they're trying to survive, and I thought it was pretty well done. Of course, if you guys have seen it, we'd love to know what you guys thought about it. Like I said, I think we're moving back to actual sharks and no longer piranhas because we've had the piranha movies for quite a while. So we're moving back to like actual sharks in the water and stuff like that. So well, I'm excited to see where things go. The next, big summer shark movie, stuff like that. I heard that this movie, I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard the only reason this even came out in theaters is because I think it was The Shallows was the name of the movie, and it was something about sharks. I don't even remember that movie, but apparently it got enough money, and they were like, let's put this out and see how much money it makes. So personally, I hope it does well because I think it's actually a fairly decent shark movie. It's not just like, oh, it's a shark movie and meh. It was actually pretty good. I like the way that they did it. The way they utilize the characters, and it's like, all right, well, this person has these skills, this person has these, skills, and sometimes you gotta switch back and forth because it's just a crazy freaking situation. So personally speaking, I really enjoyed it. But like I said, we'll love to know what you guys thought about it. Of course, if you want to do spoilers in the comments, just put a spoiler tag. Or if you want, I am going to do a spoiler discussion because there is I really want to talk about like how crazy things got at the end and what I really loved about it, but I of course can't spoil the ending and exactly how things play out. So I'll talk about that in my spoiler discussion, and there'll be a link in the description to that. So if you want to save your comments and just hop over to that, you can. But if not, just put a spoiler tag in the comment section below. But like I said, I highly recommend seeing this movie. I actually thought it was a pretty good time for just like a little hour-and-a-half shark movie. I was like, yeah, I think they did a great job in the seemingly, fairly one chunk of space. So I thought they did a good job with it. I, like the way it played out all the way through. We go through the beginning where we get the connection of the characters. That's probably only like the first 15 minutes. So, you don't have to wait for that. That's one thing where it's, like I said, with the, when it's like a storm movie or whatever, it's like, I don't care about the characters. Just get to, the only reason I'm here is like a popcorn thing. But this actually works because, especially with the characters actually being related, it adds a little bit of depth to it, with them being in such a crazy situation, that emotional tie, even more than just, friends. So I like that element. Things kind of build up. It's like, okay, it definitely makes a difference when you go through it later on. But I recommend the film. Like I said, would love to know what you guys thought about it. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.